the meeting between Trump and Putin, which has captured the attention of the entire world. The talks are scheduled to take place today at the Elmendorf-Richardson military base in Anchorage, Alaska. The President of the United States is already on a plane heading to Alaska. The flight takes about 7 hours. Trump is expected to arrive around 10 p.m. According to reports, the talks concerning Putin are also scheduled to begin at about the same time, Kyiv time. Before the visit, he made a stop in Magadan, Russia, and is also expected to arrive right around the start of the negotiations. I should note that the Kremlin dictator has a habit of being late to meetings with world leaders. Whether he'll allow himself to do the same with Trump, we'll find out soon enough. Before the dictator arrived in Alaska, his foreign minister showed up, along with an entire pool of Kremlin propagandists who had already started fabricating news from Alaska, including using images from other states. By the way, what didn't make it onto Russian screens were the mass protests ahead of the Trump-Putin meeting. The participants took a firm stand in support of Ukraine and came out under blue and yellow flags. By the way, regarding Ukraine specifically, it became known that the U.S. president managed to make a statement about it aboard Air Force One. To the journalist accompanying him on the plane, Trump remarked, "Putin believes that his attacks on Ukraine will strengthen his position in the negotiations. But in the opinion of the White House chief, this only harms the Russian dictator." Trump also emphasized that he will not negotiate on behalf of the Ukrainians. And let me say once again, just recently there was a demonstration in support of Ukraine in Alaska. Even though this is what's called a red state, meaning most people here vote Republican and supported Trump in the presidential elections. But still, hundreds of people came out with blue and yellow flags and posters to protest against Russian aggression and against the American president cozying up to Putin. How this rally went and what to expect from the negotiations, TSN correspondent Jana Sliserchuk will tell you more.
We absolutely need to stand with Ukraine.
Giving Ukraine to Putin is like giving Czechoslovakia to Hitler, read one of the posters. Anchorage felt like the center of a historic event and found plenty of blue and yellow flags. Although the town of Anchorage is the capital of the entire state of Alaska, its population does not exceed 300,000 people. So for them, this is a very large demonstration. While Russian propagandists are racing to post photos from completely different states, trying to prove that people here are waiting for Putin, the locals are not hiding their outrage. Helen Sharad, a former Brit who now lives in Alaska, had no connection to the Ukrainian diaspora. This is about Ukraine. This is about Ukraine, not about America, not about Russia. Unless, of course, it's Russia that attacked Ukraine and Russia needs to leave. What is there to negotiate about? What is Zelensky supposed to do? He just wants his borders to be left alone. And the fact that he's not here brings us right back to the era of colonialism. The protesters are giving their own president just as much heat as the Russian leader. Both of them are spiteful narcissists who only care about their own interests. If they really wanted to talk about what's happening in Ukraine and how to end the war, they would have invited President Zelensky. Putin himself isn't in Alaska yet. Only his entourage, propagandists, and ministers have arrived so far. Sergei Lavrov, the long-standing head of the Russian Foreign Ministry, arrived wearing a hoodie with our written across the chest.
We never make plans too far ahead. We know we have our arguments. We have our position. We will present it. A lot has already been done here during Stephen Witkoff's visits.
The Russians keep outplaying Trump. They requested a meeting in Alaska at the exact moment when the ultimatum set by the American president to Putin was about to expire. Analyst Vadim Denisenko is convinced. No matter what the Kremlin leader says, he needs the sanctions lifted, and he needs it fast.
Putin is going there to achieve the greatest possible comfort for himself, namely, the lifting of sanctions. The thing is, the Russian economy is on the verge of a recession. And we can clearly understand that. If the sanctions are not lifted from the Russian Federation at this point, next year, 2026, will be the year when a very deep, very serious recession in the Russian economy will begin.
And this is the Russian Orthodox Church of Alaska. Yes, this is the Russian Orthodox Church of Alaska. It is subordinate, like all the others, to Patriarch Kirill, who previously urged his followers not to fear the use of nuclear weapons, and calls Russia's war with Ukraine almost a crusade. Ironically, they've been praying here for peace for 3 days now.
Let a miracle happen. That's what we're praying for. That's our hope.
All I want tomorrow is to agree on the next meeting, which should happen as soon as possible after this one. Maybe even in Alaska. I think it'll be interesting. We'll figure out what everyone wants. I'll know in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I'll know whether we're going to have a good meeting or a bad one. If it's bad, it'll be over quickly.
Former Ukrainian Foreign Minister Pavlo Klinkin reassures, no matter how Trump behaves, Ukraine will avoid a repeat of the Czechoslovakia scenario from World War II precisely because of the American president's character.
He absolutely doesn't stand a chance, excuse my non-television language, of successfully selling out the entire nation of Ukraine because he would undoubtedly look incredibly weak.
Meanwhile, security measures at the Elmendorf-Richardson military base, where the meeting will take place and where the Russian dictator will only be able to fly in through his own airspace, which will be open for just 1 day and only for 2 presidential planes, are being tested by a moose.
Unlike the protesters, barbed wire doesn't stop him. Yana Salisarchuk, Valentina Dabroda, TSN 1+1. United News Marathon.
So about 3 hours remain until the planes carrying Trump and Putin land in Anchorage, Alaska. It's about 8 in the morning there now, but all the journalists from the world's leading media outlets have already been up for several hours. We are receiving, among other things, a live feed from international agencies. One of these shots, with a view of Alaska, you see, it's from above, is clearly meant to capture the moment the presidential planes land. And the second is the Elmendorf-Richardson military base itself, where the president's meeting is set to take place. The TSN film crew is already in Alaska as well. We'll be the first to find out everything and will share all the details. Our broadcast as part of the joint marathon will continue until morning. The diplomatic marathon in Europe is taking place against the backdrop of the Trump-Putin meeting over the past 2 days. The president of Ukraine visited Berlin, where on Wednesday he held bilateral talks with Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Next was an online conference with European partners, and leaders from France, Italy, Finland, the United Kingdom, and Poland joined the conversation. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, and European Council President Antonio Costa discussed how to act together so that no decisions would be made in Alaska without taking Ukrainian and European interests into account. And these demands were then voiced in a conversation with the U.S. President and Vice President J.D. Vance. The day before, Zelensky had already left for London. There, they discussed prospects for peace, investments in drone production, and expectations for the Alaska summit with Prime Minister Starmer. So, the meeting between Trump and Putin, which the whole world is watching, let's return to it once again. The talks are scheduled to take place today at the Elmendorf-Richardson military base in Anchorage, Alaska. Today, we see a direct signal coming from there. Global news agencies have already been working there for several hours. The TSN film crew is also there, and our Ono Koshelenko will be among the first to help us find out everything. And right now, the President of the United States is on a plane, heading to Alaska. The flight lasts about 7 hours, so Donald Trump is scheduled to arrive around 10 p.m. Kyiv time. According to the earlier announcement, the talks are set to begin in half an hour. As for Putin, before the visit he made a stop in Russia's Magadan, and he is expected to arrive just as the talks are about to begin. Ahead of the Russian dictator, his foreign minister has already arrived in Alaska, along with a whole group of Kremlin propagandists, who have even started faking news about Alaska by showing footage from other states. What didn't logically make it onto Russian screens were these kinds of mass protests ahead of the Trump-Putin meeting. The participants stood firmly in support of Ukraine and came out under blue and yellow flags. It was about Ukraine, as it became known, that the U.S. president managed to comment on while aboard Air Force One before departure. To the journalists accompanying him on the plane, Trump noted, Putin believes that his attacks on Ukraine will strengthen his position in the negotiations. But in the opinion of the head of the White House, this will only harm the Russian dictator. Trump also emphasized that he will not negotiate on behalf of the Ukrainians.
I have to allow Ukraine to make its own decision. I think they will make the right decision. But I'm not here to negotiate on behalf of Ukraine. I'm here to get them to the negotiating table.
He inspected the production of fish oil. Before meeting with Trump, Putin visited Magadan. He hadn't been there for 14 years. The Kremlin leader visited memorial sites, held a meeting with Magadan officials, and stopped by a fish oil production plant, where he held a jar of vitamins in his hands. Soon, the Russian dictator is also expected to head to Alaska. His spokesman, Peskov, has already promised that Putin, who is known for being late to meetings with other world leaders, will arrive on time for his meeting with Trump. This is expected to happen at around 10 p.m. Kyiv time.